Hello and happy St. Patty's Day Monday. Hope everybody got to see some of that red moon, that blood moon Friday night, Thursday night, or Thursday night was really when it happened. I hope you're well. I'm just picking on you, man. You crack me up, man. Thanks. You always give me a good giggle before stream. I hope you're good. And anybody else? There's what, three of us watching? One of them's me, so because I'm in YouTube too. I hope everybody's having a good weekend. I hope you two are having a good weekend. I hope everybody enjoyed their Friday night. Got a second part I'm going to show tonight of alien stuff. Plus, I'm going to promote, well, I'm going to put up her Monday stream here. In fact, I'll do that now while there's hardly anybody in here. Let me do that real fast. That's always fun to do. I'm still getting, no matter how many times I've done this for how long now, I still have issues. There we go. And share. Go back. And then I'll make myself bigger. There we go. And that's her stream for Monday at 11. So, Latro, what's up? Since you're been the gabbiest so far. Yeah, I was just picking on you. The first alien one was hilarious. I like the second one too. You're always funny. I love your dad jokes. Well, Miss Vixen, I figured you were probably the third person. I figured it was you or Cindy Lee. I hope she's well. I need to reach out to her and make sure she's okay. Just putting tools away, tired from fixing. Left arm looks like piranhas. I hope you guys are good. Yeah. Did you get any of those storms, Latro? Vixen may not see any of this weather. We're getting it on and off. So a lot of reasons I run YouTube where I do this is because if there's a problem, either I can get to you guys in YouTube on PC, because sometimes StreamYard goes out first, and that way I just have to pop it in my phone and I'm right there and I can reach out to you guys, let you know what's going on. That's one of the reasons I keep my phone close. Lots of wind and just some sprinkles. I know Blue's probably getting it right now. Anybody, Tennille's probably getting it right now. Anybody from about Alabama all the way up to us in Ohio, and then little northwest of that is getting snow. So, man, there's and tornadoes like crazy. So my prayers go out for, especially all you folks in Alabama, Louisiana, soon to be Georgia. You guys stay safe. Because some of these storms are crazy. When I last looked, there was 4 tornadoes and all kinds of severe thunderstorm warnings from down there all the way up to us. Right now, it's just raining. We had a pretty good storm roll through a little bit ago, and it thundered and lightning, then it just poured. And how are you, Vixen? Are you having a good weekend so far? I appreciate you showing up. I hope everybody is well. As soon as people start tuning in, I will start the replay. Like I said, tonight's another half of one I showed, I believe, last week. It's part 2. Let me get it up here real quick so I know what I'm talking about. Where'd it go? I just had it. Oh, right here. Why did it move? I tell you, every time I click off this page, I have to re-find everything. Dang it. I just had it. See, I click off this page and it moves the page and it bums me out. This is too funny. Yeah, a quiet weekend so far. Nothing much going on. Well, at least you get a chance to relax a little bit. I just had it. Why does this do this to me? Because I showed part one last week and I was going to show part two this week. Right here, I got it. Cool breeze. Let's see if I put it down a little bit. Maybe it won't disappear on me this time. It's Strange Death and Ufology Part 2, Volume 2. I did Volume 1, I believe, last week. Yes, I did. Having a quiet weekend's a good thing so far. It gets kind of boring. Found a Diablo Pass vid on YouTube claimed avalanche. Yeah, they're still trying to. There's still people. They officially closed the case. So now it's just all these independent people trying to come up with theories and ideas. I don't think it was an avalanche. Unless the avalanche happened afterwards, which is highly possible. But something went down there. There's no doubt. Yeah, it doesn't cut it. No, not with the crap that was left. And pardon the headsets tonight. I am having some voice problems, and I was just trying to keep it down for pops. So forgive the headsets. But yeah, not with all the injuries and things that went down, the way the bodies were found. Now, it's highly possible an avalanche happened afterwards, but very unlikely still. It didn't show signs of an avalanche, just heavy snowfall. You got to remember, it gets tons of snow up there. I got a fume. It's really helped my habit. I like it a lot. I'm using crisp mint. It's not bad. Unofficial advertisement. Missing lips. Yeah. Well, some of them actually look like cow mutilations. So think about that. Even though that picture, I don't think that picture of the shadow or the bean standing by the tree, Chris, is a Bigfoot. It could be humanoid. It could have been an alien. And that's a suit it was wearing. You really can't see a whole lot of detail. Who knows? Everybody will have a theory. How you doing, Chris? Are you doing all right today? You having a good week so far? We just introduced Dad to Daredevil. He finally caught up. He's ahead of me now. I still got to watch the last episode. But he loved it. He loved the pink one. But everybody having a fun night. But not really. Oh, just hang in there, Chris. Enjoy the replay. Relax a little bit until you pass out. Hope you get there, bud. I know it's hard. I watch too many people in your shoes, so I know it's hard. Thanks for those showing up. We'll start the replay. This is Gemma's video for Monday at 11 a.m. She had prophetic dreams, and then she just disappeared. And that's Cynthia Anderson, or they called her Cindy. So that should be a good one. And then she'll do some more cryptid ones and scary ones, and then because she wants to mix it up a little bit. Last episode was very shocking at the end. Don't tell me, because I haven't seen the last episode of Daredevil. So the dad liked it. Yeah, I stayed away from the television out there on purpose because I still got to watch it, and there's one other show I want to catch up on. No, they were seasoned hikers. Oh, I know they were seasoned hikers. Oh yeah, they were all well trained. They knew where they were going. Why would they have packed a bathing suit unless they were anticipating a sauna? Yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, they knew what was going on. Oh yeah. I think there was a lot more going on than we will ever know. And I'll start the replay in about 15, 20 minutes or so, depending on how. Now we're up to 6 people. And hello, 6 people. The people I'm talking to in chat and the people hide. Enjoy. Like I said, I'll start the replay here soon. Just letting everybody come in, relax, get comfortable. Remember, donations are a big help for her right now. So if you can give a little, give a lot. And I know everybody's certain, so, but she could use some help. Stars, it stars the actor who played Ontario Vega on One Life to Live. Last thing he made before he died. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. Yeah, we were discussing that with Dad. We were telling Dad that. Yeah, my son's a big fan of the show. I am too. I like the dare. Oh, there's a and congratulations, dear lady. I'm glad he got it. I don't think anybody's going to take it from him, so you don't have to worry there. I would be a very proud mother too. So stand tall, stand proud. I'm happy for him, and I'm happy for you. And I hope you're well. And I hope you had fun last night. We got 10 if you count the echoes. Yeah, that's true. I probably am echoing a little bit. I'm on cloud 9. I would be too. And that's good. Congratulations. I'm so happy for him. That's a good thing. Make it count. Now you tell him to make it count. I'm sure he will by the way you talk about him. It's just a lot of craziness going on campus right now. So hopefully he'll enjoy his time and enrich his mind. Storming here at the moment, been doing it since 10. We had a good storm roll through just a little bit before this because I was a little worried because the lights were flickering and stuff. But it chilled out. It's just kind of a steady rain here right now. Every so often I hear a rumble in the distance. We got some really good juicy storms real early this morning. They woke everybody up. It was pretty funny. You could hear the thunder roll in. And it was like an hour later, the lightning finally started coming. But you could hear the thunder way before the lightning even got here. It was wild. He always been a straight A student. When I say the kid's a G, yeah, see, that's my oldest. You believe it or not, well, I shouldn't say believe it or not. Edna, that's my oldest, Ashley, that comes in, baby dragon. Sammy's smart too, but Sammy and Giles, they all inherited their mom, my ex. She's something else. She's got it up here. And the kids definitely inherited it. It doesn't show, but they are smart. I mean, they all, Sammy and Giles didn't finish high school, but both went back and aced their GEDs. Giles fell asleep during the math test, so he had to go back and retake it and still aced. I was so proud. Tina was like, holy crap. And I said, yeah, that's because of you. And we worked with them too during school too. We kind of homeschooled too. Tina was real big about math and English. So they're all smart kids. Sammy's Tammy and Giles are my workers, is what I call them. Ashley's like her grandmother. Smart, witty, prefers to do things around the house. 2 days in a row, tornadoes have been ripping up. Oh, I know, Chris. It's been insane. I was watching earlier, and when I was watching earlier, there was like 4 going on around Alabama and Tennessee. There was like 2 in Alabama and 2 in Tennessee. Yeah, I've been watching. I'm sure you're watching either what Max or you watching the other guy. I had them both. I was flipping back and forth. It's spelled with a G, actually, Chris. It's Giles. He is named after Tina, my ex's grandfather, Ryan Hall. There you go. Thank you. I just couldn't spit it out. He's named after his great grandfather. His great grandfather. He was a colonel in the Army. He worked for the Signal Corps. He was the one that did all the blacking. You see a lot of that government documents with blackout. That was his, especially the older stuff. That was his department. Nope, you can't see that. Nope, you can't see that. He went to his grave with a lot of secrets. He was a very patriotic man, very interesting man to talk to. But yeah, it's spelled with a G. Giles Gears was his grandfather's name. They were relatives of Richard Gere. Off somehow they all related. That's all I know. But yeah, he was named after his father, and it is a very British name. But Giles, his great grandfather, was from Arkansas. Believe it or not, I believe if I got that right. And then they retired. When he left the service, he retired to Estes Park, Colorado. That's where we went for our honeymoon. And that was a blast. I'm so proud of him, Edna. I'm trying to make sure. And Vixen, you relax. Enjoy your time, your quiet weekend. Latro's still putting tools away, I take it. But yeah, I'm going to start that upload here in a minute. Sorry about that. I thought I was going to sneeze. I'm glad Edna's happy. She's all giddy. Chris, you hang tight. Vixen's relaxing. Lato's working away. Folks are waiting for me to start the upload. My uncle was a colonel in the Barrettes for tours and Nam. Yeah, I know her grandfather did a lot of tours. My mom's brother did 6 tours, I believe, in Nam. Believe it, that many. And then he came back to be a chef. Well, he was a grill cook. He barbecued and he did parties and stuff. He's going to, for spring bakes. Just tell him to be careful. There's a lot of bad things happening at spring bake this year. So just tell him to be careful, okay? Stay with his friends. Stay together. He was crazy. Brought home. Yeah, so did her brother. He had all kinds of stuff. We don't know what happened to any of it. A Jeep and a truck. He brought back a Jeep and a truck. Now that's pretty crazy. That is so cool. Yeah, that's going to be fun for him. It's a neat place. I'd never been there, but I know it's pretty cool. AE Associate Director Baker just went, and his vids were incredible. Oh, cool. I don't think there'll be any problems there. I hope not. I don't think there will be. They're usually pretty tight there. He'll have a blast. He'll have a good time. He deserves it, right? I look at the screen talking to you when I don't look at the camera because the camera's in front of me. I look at myself so I know I'm talking to you folks. See this, Edna? It's not a vape. I got my fume, and it's been a big help. And I'm still going strong, little lady. You should be proud. That's it. It looks like a cigar from a distance. You can fidget with it. And they're pretty tasty. I got a crisp mint in here. And it's nice and strong, so it does a really good job kind of replacing that tobacco. I'm not a menthol guy, but it kind of has a menthol mini flavor to it, I guess. Bet they have great Darwin. They probably do. They probably do. Well, I come in, me and Gemma come in here a lot of times with his dad jokes. They're always so good. If you scroll up to the top, and I hope they're still there, you can see all of his jokes that he comes in with before I even start streaming. But yeah, the Darwin jokes are probably really popular there. I can never say that right. Galapagos Islands. It's a pretty place. Never been there. We're trying to get Pop to move to Tokyo. China. I'm in Japan. Land's cheap there right now. We've already looked at, me and Giles have each found a place that has nice land, right in snuggled in the mountains. Oh, I wanted to show you guys something. Hold on one sec. I'm even reading a book on the lore. Oops. I'm even reading a book about the lore. Can you see that? It's backwards here. Let me flip it around. Can you see that all right? It's kind of glossy. It is. Yeah, maybe you see that better. Nope, that's even worse. It is Japanese Myths and Tales. Nice book, but it's all Japanese myth and tales. It's pretty cool. Pretty nice. Got some nice artwork in it. Let me show you. There's a whole series of these kind of books from different countries. I figured if I'm going to end up living in Japan one day, I better know everything. I'm trying to find some of the artwork before we start. Love Yoki and Japanese mythology. You would love this book. It's got a ton of stuff. The print is really small, so I'm glad I got my glasses. But there are some great stuff. How the old man lost his win, the ghostly wrestlers, the shoujo's white snake, the globe of fire, the adventures of Kiki Aizuma, the ghost mother, the photon of, there's the return, the corpse eater, Hachi the earless. But there's all kinds of stuff. I was trying to find some of the artwork. There's not much in here, but there is some pretty nice stuff. Now I can't find it. Maybe that was one. I think it's in the back. Yeah, it's in the back. Stuff like this. But yeah, it was really good. I started the first couple pages and said, nope, I'm going to sit down and read this straight through. Love the kinds of stories. Yeah, there are all kinds of stories. I think there's a total of, well, they break it down in categories, but it looks like there's 100 and there's 477 pages, and some of them have three, because some of them are very short stories. Like here's some of the artwork. I wish you guys know this is again Gemma's Monday video. Cynthia Anderson. She had prophetic dreams and then she disappeared. Should be a good one. Check it out Monday at 11 a.m. Chat will be open. I should be there. No doctor appointments, so I should be there. I'm going to stop that. But yeah, see. I can't. I started reading. It was like, oh man, this is getting good. Yes, Chris. So I figured this is going to be a night I'm going to sit down. Probably tomorrow night, I'll sit down and plow that book down. But he's going to be in the highest class of people, swimming with the sharks, so to speak. Yep, that worries me a little. Yeah, well, trust him, have faith in him to make the right decisions. But I won't worry about that right now. I'll think of that tomorrow. Yeah, you'll wake up all worried. They are just ghosts. Yeah, I know what they are. Yeah, I can't wait to read it because some of these stories I know from stuff I've heard when I was there for the short time. So I can't wait. I want to go back so bad. But it's funny, me and Giles have been looking at places. He found, like I said, he found a place that had like 4 acres, neat little home. And I said, oh, here we go, Juan again. His place looked kind of creepy, but it was nice. And then the place I looked at was in off the no Kinjo, no, just outside of Tokyo province, whatever you want to call it. Um, so it was kind of nice. I don't want to give specific. I'll show you pictures probably someday. Maybe spooky time. I'll show pictures of the place I picked. But yeah, they want you to move there. Land's fairly cheap. The only problem is some of their stuff is pretty creepy. I do too. My dad really loved it. He liked it better than the original. He was like, "This is really good. A little adult oriented, but it's good." Let me see what time it is. We got 6 people still watching. I'll get ready. Let me set up here for the video. Like I said, it's part 2 of one we did last week. Hold on. This is the hard part. It's Strange Death and Ufology, Volume 2, as she puts it. Ah, make sure you let me know you can hear it. I'll probably cut it off the end depending on what she talks about. It's about 29 minutes. Feel free to talk. Enjoy the upload. Let me get it moved out of my way here. The multi-layered version of hell in Japan is scarier than West. Oh, I know. It is way scarier too. Way scarier. Okay, let me get down to my little corner here, and then I'll make her a. Well, let's go ahead and do that now. And then, where's my. Do this. There we go. Are you guys ready? Dog snoring. Tired from supervising me all day. That's funny. You ready? Ah, it didn't click. Hold on. And here we go. Make sure you let me know you can hear this.
What happened to the sound? So everyone knows that throughout time there have been people who have died under strange and suspicious.
Ah, dang it. I knew it was going to do that. Hold on one second, folks. I was trying to figure it out. I'm hoping you guys could hear that, right? When it was on. For some reason, I wasn't hearing it in my ear. Let's try this again. Go, go, go. Come on. Thing is so slow. No. Jeezy Wheezy. Why is it being so difficult? Yep, they were sound cool. Because for some reason I wasn't hearing it in my headset. I was hearing it out there. I don't know why that happened. Okay, let me find it again. I can't believe that happened. But I had a feeling it was going to. It's been a strange day. I've been busy all day long. You folks don't understand. When I literally come in here and say, I've been go, 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 I've been go, go, go. Let's see. I just had it. It's 2 years old, I believe. So there. Nope, that one's not it. Oh, there's another one. So maybe we'll watch that one next. That one's a year old, though. Okay, let me find the one we were watching. And maybe we'll watch that one right after this one. If everybody's up for it. And we shall try again. Wait a minute. Was that it? No. It's on the end. Nope, 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 nope. Sorry about this, folks. I knew it was going to happen because it was acting weird all night. Okay, now I know I gone too far. Because there's the one we watched last week. Right there. Okay. Had it marked. And of course, I lost the mark. Maybe no, that wasn't the one we were watching. Should be coming up. Trying to figure this out. This really screwed me up. I knew it was going to. Was that it? Nope, it doesn't say volume 2. Oh, maybe it was a year old. There it is. Okay, let's try this again, okay? Sorry about that, folks. That's why the sound was off. Okay, pause. Okay, I want to make sure everything's working. Okay. Okay, there. Quit. Why are you doing it? See, this has been happening to me when I was trying to set it up today. When I tried to preset it. There it is. I didn't lose it. Thank gosh. There it goes. Okay. Now let's try this again. Move. Present. Edna's laughing at me. Everybody's laughing at me. That's all right. You can enjoy the joke. I'm like a beginner tonight. But it had been giving me trouble all day. There we go. Okay. Me down at the bottom. Her big. And shall we start now?
What is up, my beautiful gemstones? Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Gemma Jade, but today we are going to be discussing more strange deaths in ufology.
I don't know why I'm not hearing her in my headset.
Time, there have been people who have died under strange and suspicious
circumstances. You hear it okay, guys?
Well, I did a video recently, like a few months ago, about journalists and other people who were either witness to or had some
I just don't know why I'm not hearing it in my headset.
So-called conspiracy theories and the fact that they all died under very strange and suspicious, very mysterious circumstances. I actually found a whole slew of them.
Can you still hear me?
I can't believe that there's not more people talking.
Thumbs up if you can hear me.
When I do videos like this, I imagine the
I just switched a bunch of stuff.
Everyone that those people left behind.
Okay,
do accidents happen?
I'll shut up now.
Sure they do. But how many accidents can happen to people who are all working or otherwise involved in the same area of work, research, or study before people start noticing and understanding that it can't possibly be an accident and it also cannot be a coincidence? I don't know what the answer to that question could possibly be, because for me, the last video was enough. But now I found even more cases. It's just shocking to me. And I feel like someone needs to be bringing this to the light, so it may as well be me. I'll leave the link of the other video I did about this in the description box if you want to check it out and catch up after you watch this one. You don't need to watch them in like any order. For now, though, let's cuddle up with some tea or whatever makes you relaxed and look at some very bizarre deaths in ufology. So let's jump right in. So let's start off our list with a well-known and noted conspiracy theorist named Jim Keith, who died under extremely bizarre and dubious circumstances in September of 1999. Jim had his little accident when he was attending the Burning Man Festival, but he had arrived a day before the festivities began in the Black Rock Desert in Nevada, which is just north of Reno, just to hang out and wait for the event to begin. Once the event began, Jim was on stage at the Burning Man Festival, and he somehow fell off and hit the ground after losing his balance. At first, he thought he had just obtained some severe bruising on his legs, but by the next morning, he was in absolute agony. In fact, the pain he was in was so excruciating that he had to call for the paramedics, which were on hand for any accidents or things of that nature that happened at the festival. And they quickly arrived and took him to the Washoe Medical Center in Reno for treatment. Once there, doctors told Jim that he had fractured his tibia and that he needed to be prepped for surgery, which would require him to be anesthetized. So everything seems fairly cut and dry up to this point, but it is about to get very strange. Once he was informed of this, Jim immediately placed a call to someone else that he knew who was in the field and business of conspiracy theories. The man's name was Gregory Pickard, and he said that Jim was in an absolute panic and sounded paranoid even to him. Jim told Gregory that one of the staff that had been helping him and who would be involved in the surgery had the same name as someone he had recently been debating the topic of black helicopters with. And it was as recently as just a few months earlier. He remembered the person, he remembered the name. I'm not 100% sure, but I believe Jim Keith was debating with this person as to whether or not the black helicopters existed and what their purpose was regarding ufology conspiracy theories, because there are a lot. I do get a lot of requests to talk about the black helicopter situation, and I am currently working on something. So I think that was what he was debating. As the time the surgery neared, Jim became more and more anxious, and he told his nephew, Chris Davis, quote, "I have a feeling that if they put me under, I'm not coming back. I know if I get put under, I am going to die," end quote. That's exactly what happened, and it's said to have been a blood clot that eventually ended his life. And it happened during the surgery. He never came out of it. And it kind of has to make you wonder, at least in my opinion, if he was murdered or if it was just his own bad luck or some strange coincidence that he knew with absolute certainty what fate would befall him should he go through with that surgery. So some people have wondered why he didn't just call off the surgery or go to a different hospital, but I think he was in so much pain, he really didn't have many other options. Plus, I doubt anyone, maybe his friends in the conspiracy field with him, but I doubt anyone else really would have believed him if he continued to make noise about it and voice his concerns, as he did. Was Jim Keith murdered? Obviously, I don't know for sure, but that's just the thing, isn't it? It's always done in such a way that people can't ever prove it one way or another. I believe there's a good chance he was murdered, and in fact, I believe it to be more likely over it having been merely a coincidence. Other people in the field of conspiracy theories and the field as a whole, like everyone involved in it basically at the time, found his death to be more than a little untimely and flat out labeled it as suspicious. They were very vocal in their questions about whether or not this was some tragic accident or a well orchestrated murder by some random and still unknown culprits. In the immediate wake of his death, that question was asked the most by those who not only knew him, but by those who knew what he did for a living and the field of research he was involved in. There's a man named Greg Bishop, who is considered a top authority in the UFO field, who said about all of it, quote, "I would prefer to think that there was no connection to the weird computer problems," end quote. What he meant was, at the time he left for Burning Man in September of '99, there had been a series of hacks into Jim Keith's computer and another hack into his systems just a couple of days before he died as well. So what had he been investigating that the powers that be, and so it seems the hackers, were so interested in? Well, he was researching the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, which happened in France in 1997, and which people still question all these years later whether it was really as plain as a car accident or not. Did he uncover something that certain people in very high places didn't want being made known to the public? Of course, it's possible, but we'll never know because there's been almost no mention of what happened to his personal files since he died. If I were to do a deep dive, I could probably answer that question, but for now, let's just move on to our next case. So instead of just one person, our next case involves a massive number of deaths, which mainly are connected. For many people, mainly those with involvement in this community, this one seems like an ultimate plotline for some sort of low budget conspiracy theorist type thriller movie. There are dozens of scientists and technicians who are all working either together or separately, depending on each case, on highly classified programs which were all linked to one company. All of these people died under highly suspicious and equally bizarre circumstances, and this controversy ran for a very long time, too. It's said to have started in the early 70s and went right up until at least 1991, with it remaining completely unresolved to this very day. So, what exactly am I talking about here? Well, sometimes it's called the Marconi murders. The top secret work that was being done by a company called Marconi Electric Systems back then, and though it's still around today, it now exists as a part of BAE Systems Electronics Unlimited. The work this company does mainly revolves around futuristic weaponry and spy satellite technology. So, from what I understand, the first person to die that was a part of this company was a man named Robert Wilson. By 1971, Robert had built a very successful career for himself with the work he was doing for Marconi, specifically at its facility in Chelmsford, Essex, England, and as a technical author. Around this time as well, though, he was ready to move on, not only to new and different work and taking his work he had already done to the next level, but he also planned on taking it to a new company. One afternoon on a random and seemingly normal Sunday in 1972, Robert Wilson decided to finally get up into his attic at his house and just do some cleaning up. As he went through everything up in his attic, he became immediately alarmed when he discovered a very large box of files from his work at Marconi that he didn't remember having put up there. Like, he didn't know they were there. He was really worried, according to those who knew him best at the time. And he immediately called Marconi, telling them in no uncertain terms that he had no idea how the files had ended up there and that he wanted to just hand them back and be done with the whole situation. He didn't want to read through them, go through them. He didn't want to know how they got there. He just wanted to give them back and move on with his life. A major internal investigation was quickly launched by the company, and the company's security staff interviewed Wilson several times and for long lengths of time each time they spoke to him. By the end of it, it seemed as though, and at least that's what they were saying, that they believed him, that he had no memory of ever bringing those files home, let alone leaving them just sitting in a box in his attic, and that it was simply a case of him having made some sort of mistake, accidentally bringing them home with him, maybe when he cleaned out his office or something like that. I mean, just a little side note here, but why on earth would this man choose to bring home top secret files from a company he no longer worked for, but then turn himself in a year later for doing so, claiming amnesia? It just doesn't make sense to me, and it seemed at first like Marconi thought that way too. Less than 24 hours after the security team had seemingly accepted the simple explanation as the truth, it's alleged that Robert Wilson had accidentally shot himself in the chest while cleaning his gun. The weapon was a .45, but most people can't understand why or how someone with his experience in handling firearms and with how to handle them safely would be cleaning a loaded pistol with the weapon turned and facing directly at the center of his chest, of all places. Wilson didn't die, though, and he did speak about what happened. He seemed extremely confused about the entire situation. He himself said that he couldn't, for the life of him, understand how such a disastrous and unlikely thing could have ever happened to someone as careful as he had always been when cleaning or otherwise handling his guns. Many people said that when he discussed the incident, he seemed to suddenly be like he was in some sort of fog about it. And Robert said he got the chills when he thought of it at all. He was even a member at the local gun club, which made it even more unlikely that something like that could ever have happened to him by accident. The bullet missed his heart and all of his vital arteries, and though he survived, he wouldn't be alive for long. In May of 1973, Robert's body was found in his garage, and he was allegedly the victim of self-inflicted, albeit accidental, carbon monoxide poisoning. The death was ruled as accidental, and it was officially stated that he had been servicing his car and had been overwhelmed by carbon monoxide fumes while he did so. Let me ask you this. So some of my best friends are mechanics, and my husband is a master mechanic for nearly 50 years now. Who in the world or in their right mind services their car at all while the engine is running, especially when they're in a small garage with all the windows and the bay doors closed? I don't know how to work on cars, and even I know not to do that. Yeah, I didn't think so. I'm not a mechanic, have no idea how to work on cars, and even I know that you don't do that. So if you're thinking along the lines of a conspiracy, I guess it would be that, just like with what we saw with Candy Jones last week, it's not uncommon or unheard of for certain government entities and powerful industry people to be able to make others do their bidding so that they aren't even connected to it. I believe Marconi was a company that was powerful enough to be able to do things just like that. And this isn't the only death associated with this company either, far from it. What I mean by Candy Jones is, did they mind control him and make him do it himself? Did they make him do it? You know, did they mind control him and make him shoot himself? That makes more sense to me than having some human assassin come in and leave no evidence behind at all. Because if the evidence suggests he accidentally shot himself and nothing else, that's what the evidence suggests. So did they do something to Robert Wilson, possibly by way of hypnotic suggestion, to get him to shoot himself, but when he failed, they had to think of something else? It would seem that way if you look at how confused Robert himself was about the whole shooting situation and how he was terrified of how it could have happened in the first place. What are the odds that twice in a year's time, a smart man, a scientist, would have two accidents that could be fatal? One with a gun that he luckily survived, and then one doing something so nonsensical as servicing his vehicle while the engine was on and the doors in the bays to the garage were closed. I'm not a betting woman, as I always say, but I wouldn't bet anything at all on the odds of that being what actually happened. However, I don't understand why they would be so upset and want to permanently silence the man when he came forward the moment he realized he had possession of those documents. I need to take this thought process a step further here, if you'll be so kind as to bear with me for a moment. So what if Robert was put under hypnosis and made to hide those files in his attic and didn't have any memory of it? And then once he found it, he didn't know how they had gotten there because his self was asleep when he had put them there in the first place. Again, if you don't know what I mean, please watch last week's video about Candy Jones and come back. So once he found them, he became a liability because I don't think he even knew, not consciously anyway, what were in those files. And when he found them and became aware of it, even though he was scared enough, or so it seemed, that he never would have talked about it. And I'm not even sure he even looked at what the files were. Marconi or whoever else couldn't risk the information getting out into the public, or that Robert would use the information at the new company he worked for, and so they offed him. Does that make sense? All of this is just my own speculation, guys, of course, and it's all alleged. And Marconi and no one who works for them has ever been officially named a suspect or been charged in any of these cases. Now, the deaths associated with this company in particular are more than numerous. And as I said earlier, I can't go over all of them with you here today. But as I said earlier as well, they've become known as the Marconi murders if you want to look it up and do your own research. I'll cover a few more, but know that this is so much more massive than just these few I'm discussing with you here today. And if you all want me to specifically talk about Marconi as a company back then and get into each and every death associated with them, allegedly, in detail, let me know in the comments, and I'll, of course, see what I can do. In March of 1982, 46-year-old Dr. Keith Bowden was a senior computer scientist who was at the time a contractor for GEC Marconi, which was Britain's major high-tech defense company, died in what was called a tragic and major car accident. One night, after attending some sort of social function that had nothing to do with his job, he drove his vehicle at a very high rate of speed off a major 3-lane highway and went headfirst off of a bridge down an embankment and then landed into an abandoned rail yard. He died instantly. So, the investigating officers at the time said that Keith had merely been drunk driving and driving too fast, losing control of the vehicle easily and dying as a result of a tragic accident. However, Keith's wife and their lawyer begged to differ. His wife and other friends who had been with him that night insisted that he had not been drinking at all, let alone that he had been so drunk he couldn't control his own vehicle. Keith's lawyer hired an independent accident investigator to go over the wreckage and find out what really happened. What he found was shocking, but still went mostly ignored as far as I could tell. So Keith was almost known for keeping the tires on his vehicle pristine and in great shape and condition as far as the independent investigator could find. That's what everyone said about him. Someone, though, seemed to have swapped his regular tires out for some old bald ones that would explain why he ended up with no control over the car in the first place. In March of 1985, a radar designer and draftsman with Marconi named Roger Hill allegedly shot himself to death in his house. And for as much as I searched and tried to bring you all more information as to why this one was sus, I couldn't find anything else except for what I just told you about this particular death. Just a few months after the Hill death, a digital communications expert who had worked at GEC and at British Telecom's Secret Research Centre, located in Martlesham Heath in Suffolk, England, a company that had strong ties to Marconi at the time, was also found dead when his body was found out on a sidewalk on an Ivory Coast, West African hotel. He had a fatal fall when he either jumped, fell, or was pushed from the balcony of his room there. Just before his death, he had been telling his friends and family that he feared for his life and felt like someone had been stalking him, watching him and following him. And that's what made his death even more suspicious. And in the eyes of his loved ones and those who knew him best, even more reason it couldn't have been an accident or a case of him unaliving himself by jumping to his death. They believe he was pushed or thrown by someone having to do with Marconi over some sort of information he had knowledge of through working for and in communication with the same. But it's never been proven, and his death was left as undetermined, but only because the coroner couldn't figure out if it had been accidental or a purposeful fall. It's said by many familiar with the case that someone else being involved wasn't investigated at the time, but who knows if that's true. If everything we've learned so far is to be believed, though, then I would believe that statement as well. It just makes sense that the coroner would ignore it if higher ups put pressure on him or her to do so. We've talked in other videos about the first United States Secretary of Defense and his strange and suspicious death from an alleged fall from his hospital room window on May 22nd, 1949 at exactly 1:50 a.m., and he was found shortly after on a third-floor canopy at the Bethesda Naval Hospital in Maryland. So let's move on. From the last few months of the year 2000 until about mid-2005, an almost countless number of people who were employed in the elite field of microbiology died under very suspicious circumstances. For those of you who don't know, microbiology is defined as the study of organisms that are too small to be seen with the naked eye, such as bacteria and viruses. Some people within the media, and even some within certain forms of government, thought the deaths were highly suspicious, at least to some degree. At first, most of them seemed to be fairly straightforward, but even those who were skeptical of the idea that the deaths were suspicious in nature couldn't ignore the facts. There was one very important overriding factor in all of them, and that was that almost all of these microbiologists had top secret links to worldwide intelligence agencies and services, including the CIA in the United States, Britain's M15 and M16, and Israel's Mossad. It was almost inevitable that such a mysterious collection of deaths with such a tight-knit group of elite scientists in areas of very cutting-edge research would lead to speculation from people who are suspicious of so-called coincidences and who want to have the mystery solved for once and for all. Some people believe that a cell of deep cover terrorists from the Middle East wiped all of the leading names in the field of microbiology out in an attempt to prevent the Western nations from developing ultimate biochemical weapons. A somewhat darker theory suggests that such weapons had already been developed, and because they had completed the top secret work, they needed to be eliminated, and so they were one by one. It's said in the same theory that the microbiologists were systematically killed by Western intelligence in an effort to prevent them from being kidnapped by terrorists who may have taken the information on how to make the weapons by force, or who would have forced them to come and work for them instead, thereby giving those same terrorists access to those same elite deadly weapons. Moving on to the summer of 2006, when a large crop circle appeared almost right next door to Chartley Castle, which is a centuries-old castle located in the English countryside of Staffordshire. It wasn't only the crop circles, though, and all around them, on the fringes of them, there were also extremely large piles of bright and beautiful peacock feathers. While the peacock feathers in the same spot as the crop circle was interesting and seemingly very odd, it didn't seem to be connected somehow. However, there were some people who did think it was connected, and according to one of them who wrote about it in the Dictionary of Phrase and Fable, they said, quote, "The peacock's tail is the emblem of the evil eye or of an ever vigilant traitor," end quote. So again, most of you are probably wondering, what the hell am I talking about? The story goes like this, quote, "Argus was the chief minister of Osiris, king of Egypt. When the king started on his Indian expedition, he left his queen, Isis, regent, and Argus was to be her chief advisor. Argus, with 100 spies called Eyes, soon made himself so powerful and formidable that he shut up the queen regent in a strong castle and proclaimed himself king. Mercury marched against him, took him prisoner, and cut off his head, whereupon Juno metamorphosed Argus into a peacock and set his eyes in its tail," end quote. So I got this information from an article Nick Redfern wrote for Mysterious Universe, and he said that he met a woman named Jane Addams, who is a devotee of Wicca and who Nick met in a Wiltshire crop circle in August of 1997. He said that he got to know Jane and that she told him that she had an intriguing theory for why there were seemingly always peacock feathers out of place in the United Kingdom, specifically surrounding crop circles. Are you guys still with me? Good, because I had a hard time hanging on there too, but it's really, really strange and well worth that twisted and somewhat convoluted ride. She obviously didn't give him this explanation about the peacock feathers at Chartley Castle in 1997 because that didn't happen until 2006, and that's where I got lost. I guess in 2006 he was talking to her, and here was her theory. She believes that the feathers were evidence that the people who are responsible for making the crop circles, or the entities, had been using the peacock's evil eye in what she described as, quote, black ceremonies, end of quote. She further stated that those types of ceremonies, the very same ones, had been conducted under the cover of night and darkness and on all sorts of different occasions, not only within British-made crop circles, but within ancient stone circles as well. Jane went even further in her claims and said that people involved in all of this dark ceremony stuff were doing it all in order to breed negativity and to invoke some seriously evil, life-threatening creatures from some sort of lower vibrational and sometimes demonic realm and dimensions that are connected to ours. So realms and dimensions, lower vibrational, oftentimes demonic, but also connected to ours somehow. So she said that some of these creatures that are being invoked or that have been invoked in the past are ones that look very similar to what we have come to know as Bigfoot, and that one had even been spotted at Chartley Castle by a man named Mark Dodds that came forward along with his wife to report having seen it in September of 1996. So they could use them in what she called, quote, psychic assassinations, end quote, of people who would oppose the dark and demonic activities of this group. This is a bit convoluted for me, and I had to keep going over the same information over and over again to really try to understand it. It's just like, I don't know, why would a secret organization who is doing all of this and practicing these rituals be worried about people opposing them? No one is supposed to know about them, right? Unless she meant that it was for people who knew about them and opposed them, and then they'd be at risk for exposure. That's more than likely what was meant, but since this isn't exactly what she said, I don't know. If you think this information is as bizarre as it gets even more insane, and you're not alone. Jane Addams told Nick Redfern, according to him in the article he wrote about it all, that she had personal knowledge, which he was sure to reiterate was the exact way she had said it, that these people use animals in ritualistic sacrifices at the stone circles. The one she personally knew of, quote unquote, was a ritual sacrifice, quote, near a stone circle near Devon, England, some time ago, end of quote. The purpose of the sacrifices was to conjure up a black cat and some creature that would definitely fit the exact description of a British Bigfoot from some lower vibrational ethereal underworld. The British Bigfoot, and to a lesser extent the cat, would then be charged with doing the group's bidding, which is a form of supernatural assassination by way of very precisely coordinated heart attacks. So what this tells us, if we believe it's all true, and I really, really do, is that these sort of controversial, seemingly conspiratorial, and oftentimes very suspicious and bizarre deaths are nothing new. And in fact, they have been happening for a very, very long time. And with that, my friends, I will leave you to your own research. That's all I have for you today, guys. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the content, if you enjoyed hanging out with me, if you enjoyed hanging out with one another in the premiere. Spread the love, please, by sharing this video. Check out the description box for some important links, okay? I have a lot of books out now. I've been releasing book after book, starting with Danger at Your Door.
Yeah, and there's still
Encounters
another
with
book
Black-Eyed
coming
Kids,
out,
the
and she just
companion book
released
to
one
that,
of those,
Midnight
so make sure you
Visitors,
check them out.
and then
Read through 'em.
Campfire 1 and 2 at the time you're going to be watching this
Good book.
are
I enjoy
up
'em.
for
I am
pre-order
a little biased,
on
but I do
Amazon.
enjoy 'em.
The reason I was able to do them so quickly is because they're encounter
I'm
stories,
really
and
big
people
reader,
send
so
me
that's
hundreds of
important.
encounters.
I do
You know, I was just able to get
go ahead.
encounters in the woods. That's what Campfire Stories is all about, guys. Encounters with strange, demonic, lower vibrational, evil,
Guess I should shut
strange,
up.
bizarre, weird entities, energies, even some UFO encounters, some shadow entity encounters, Bigfoot encounters, like you name it, it's in those books. And I want to make that a long series, but it depends on how well it sells. That's up to you guys. Also, if you buy any of my books, please be sure to rate and review them. 5-star ratings, please, if you guys can, if you feel it deserves that, and a great review on Amazon. That helps the author more than I think most people realize, because most people aren't writing books, right? How could you guys know that? Information on ways to donate to the channel, PayPal, Cash App, my Amazon wish list gift link. About the books too, guys, I will leave the links to every single one of my books, including the ones up for pre-order, in that description box. Kindle, paperback, and they're also available on Audible.
I'm going to go ahead.
I hope you enjoyed this short and
to-the-point
video.
I think
I've been trying to make them a little bit shorter because I feel like My average view duration is a lot shorter than as long as I make my videos, but they won't always be super duper short. And honestly, the length varies depending on how much information I have. Check out the description box as well. I mean, anything you want to know is in there. The tentative schedule
Please.
for most weeks is in the description box, but I also keep you guys posted and informed through YouTube Shorts every single week as to which schedule changes, if there are any are coming up, what you can expect, etc., etc. So be sure to watch the shorts, not just the update ones, but the astrology ones. I do a lot of kind of silly, goofy, funny stuff on shorts as well. So
Yeah, so
be
please
sure to
watch.
check those out,
Yeah,
like
this is
them, leave
really
a
kind of
positive
about a
comment,
year
guys.
old.
It really does help me, and it helps my channel get out there to more people. It helps me branch out with my brand with Gemma Jade and
GemmaJadeYT.
everything that I'm trying to do and accomplish. Guys, if nobody told you today, you're amazing. You are special and you deserve to have everything you've ever wanted in this world, and you can manifest it with the power of positive thinking and the mind. If you've ever believed anything I've ever said, especially believe that. And even if you feel like you're alone, always remember, I believe in you. I got your
We
back.
believe in you.
Always go in grace. Smile at a stranger, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Okay. Now I'm big. Don't do that. Don't do that. Let me go back down to just me. That's too big for me. God, I'm losing weight, but it doesn't look like my shirts are so baggy. First of all, the crop circles, I think, are still happening. I just don't think since things got weird and information kind of got weird after the disclosure trials started and all that. So I still think that we're still not getting information and stories like crop circles. I bet they're still happening. We're just not getting it. I bet if I spend about 24 hours looking on YouTube and TikTok, I'd probably find probably at least one or two, hopefully, but it will take time. There's a lot of videos out there to siphon through. But yeah, it was funny, Latro. I really liked that. But there was ones that they have proven because the way they were busted, it looked like they exploded from the inside out. But the crop circle thing is an interesting thing. And it did go quiet. It just went. Everybody it gone silent. Now, it's like they played with drones. The drone thing is still going on. I still see one every couple nights coming out of the north, and it swings and heads east. It heading south, and then it does a kind of a wide swing and heads east. Doesn't make any sounds. It's too far away. I can't hear a hum. You've seen the exploded stocks? They were by yeah, okay, yeah. That's what. Thank you, Latro. Yeah, that's what they think. How would you do that? Would you walk around with a microwave and zap them? Yeah, because didn't they detect a little bit of radiation or something? God, that documentary I watched was a while back ago. In fact, they didn't even replay any of that stuff anymore. Usually, History Channel and Discovery and all of them like to do replays of videos from years ago during the day. So I haven't even seen any of the crop circle stuff replayed. That's interesting. Now you got me thinking, and now I may have to do some digging because it just went dead. Interesting. That's like them blowing up the Georgia Guidestones. They told us about it. Nobody made a big deal about it, and you never heard any more about it. Circles are interesting because they are out of my field. Yeah, they are probably. They're weird. But it's like, like I was saying about the drones. They hyped it up, then stopped talking about it. Now everybody's kind of used to it. They play it off, but it's still going on. It's the way they play with the mind. See? Just like she was talking about, like we were talking about, they're still messing with people's heads. Only the people that are awake are being aware of this stuff. But And I forgot about the crop circles until you brought it up. And it's like, you know what? She's right. They've stopped talking. Yeah. So now I'm curious, are there still crop circles going on out there? Are they happening in other countries? Are they happening down south, like in South America? Because, South America, all those southern countries, Africa, they still get weird stuff that goes on a daily basis. And you don't hear too much about it unless you start looking at those country YouTube channels. Now, I've seen drones, some of the fancy ones. They had up here, there's I think it's an Army or Air Force Reserve base up here off of 161. It's where we held our graduation. But they held like a thing out in their front of all the different drones. I'm sure they didn't show us all the good stuff, but they had like a little exhibition. It was kind of cool. Some of them are wicked cool as hell. Pardon my mouth. The ones that were bent, not broken, puzzles me. Yeah, those are what we were talking about. The ones that look like they've been microwaved. They were cooked from the inside out because it's right at the hinge. How they have a little hinge, and it looks like it explodes there, and they fall over. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good. Yeah, that. But now you got me all curious, Ed, and now I got to find out if there's still crop circles being seen. They were really big in England for the longest time, and in the Isles over there. So now my curiosity is piqued again because that's a subject nobody talks about anymore. That is, I don't even think they talked about it on Ancient Aliens. So man, I'm going to have to do some checking now. I'll get back with you on Spooky Time Wednesday, unless you know what I find. That's interesting. You really piqued my interest now. Now, the more I think about it and think about it, let's go ahead and do that. You guys up for that other one? Because I think that one was done before this one. Let me pull it up. Okay, I got to shrink that one. Go back. I hate that because it takes me all the way back to the top. Okay, where was it? Because that one was like a year old. Let me make sure. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah, it was 1 year old. Okay, but there's another one before that I should have probably played first. Okay, this is not the one I played last time, was it? No. So here's the one that I probably should have played first. We'll go ahead and watch that. It is 33 minutes. Basically, let me make sure I'm still getting used to my glasses. 33 minutes, about 34 minutes. You all good with that? The Latra say. Many of those circles were too complex to be man-made. Yes, that's the other thing. Some of those were pretty amazing. I wish I'd kept my old hard drive from the other computer. I don't know if I'd been able to get into it. They fried it pretty good. But I had tons of pictures of the old ones. But I'll see what I can find out. Okay, let's do that one. And you guys keep talking. You guys hit a good subject. Now I'm really curious if they are still being seen or made. Okay, 1 second. I'm going to make sure I got it good. Her sound on this should be a lot better. Man, now my curiosity is just going up. Okay, wait. I'm just trying to get it where it starts. Okay. Why is that doing it? There we go. Let's see. What happened to me? Where'd I go? Am I there? Wait a minute. Why did I go black? No, there we go, because my screen went black. Okay. Let's see here. That was weird. I've never seen it get that dark before. Is that what happens when I have that on in front of me? I go total black. You're here. Yeah, it's because my thing was in front of me and made my screen totally dark. That was wild. Never had that happen before. Well, I just never noticed it. Okay, here we go. And sound should be, it sounds like the sound on this is really good. Yeah, I'm here. Okay.
What is up, my beautiful gemstones? Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Gemma Jade, but today we are going to be discussing mysterious deaths of people involved in ufology. If you've been subscribed to or just hanging around my channel for a while, or if you know me personally, you know I am a sucker when it comes to the topic of mysterious deaths, especially ones that could somehow be linked to extraterrestrials and or their crafts in any way, shape, or form. I've talked a lot about the possibility of those connections being made, oftentimes using specific cases as examples, but I never came across any information that connected cases with possible UFO phenomenon before, aside from, you know, like in my own mind and in the discussions we've had and many live streams and chats on my channel. Well, I have found some pretty compelling cases of people who were mysteriously killed or found dead after having some sort of interactions with UFOs or aliens in general, and it seems now like I'm not the only one who was making those connections after all. I've only recently been able to get to the research, and it turns out that for decades now, and possibly going back even longer, there have been more than a few people in the field of ufology or on the periphery of it who could very well have been unalived for what they knew. People who allegedly got way too close to the truth of what's going on out there, and with that particular type of phenomenon for the comfort of some people or beings in very high places. I've discussed already the theory of the men in black that I really most believe in, with that being that they could possibly be asleep assassins who are somehow and randomly activated, usually in the middle of the night, and sent on their dastardly missions, only to not remember much of it the next day or in the following weeks. Now, I promise, gemstones, since I've covered that theory several months ago, I have been researching and trying to compile enough to bring that alone to a video here on this channel, and I hope to be able to do that very soon. In the meantime, though, what if the men in black are more than what they seem to be? Not meaning they might be hybrids or ETs themselves, but meaning that maybe they're strange and oftentimes seemingly innocuous threats to people who have seen or otherwise know too much aren't always just threats and at times have actually been carried out. Would we ever really know if that were the case? I'm going to go with probably not. Undoubtedly, as far as I can tell, this is one of the most controversial angles in the world of ufology as a whole right now. With that being said, this is a topic that should definitely be examined carefully and delivered with a lot of care. That's your warning right there, that sometimes we may not want to go snooping around in the dark corners of the internet or in the infinite places across galaxies, realms, and through dimensions, because we might then be the ones who are uncovering too much. It might end up being us. However, you all know me, and you know the things I like to discuss and dig into on my channel, and this one, when I came across it, was just too much for me to have been able to pass up. I think the following cases are definitely worth at least discussing, even if at the end of the day, in one way or another, we don't have any more definitive answers than when we first started. Lock your doors, turn down the lights, and make sure there's no one lurking outside of your house, because we're about to jump right in. So I wanted to start with a somewhat relatively known case of the first Secretary of Defense, James Forrestal. At Bethesda Naval Hospital in Maryland on May 22nd, 1949, James allegedly jumped from the 16th floor out his room window. According to a lot of rumor and a ton of speculation, it was James's knowledge of top secret information regarding UFOs and extraterrestrials themselves that led to him having the mental breakdown, as we called it in the 40s, in the first place, that led him into that particular hospital and hospital room. According to most ufologists, James Forrestal had a ton of very private, very valued information about ETs and their crafts, and he couldn't handle it in general, let alone being able to keep all of the sudden and newly gained information a secret from everyone around him. So he couldn't handle knowing it, let alone keeping it all to himself and not being able to talk about it. Don't blame him one bit. He became overwhelmed, and that's one of the things about this case that we can be completely and totally sure of. Dude was overwhelmed. A few months before his untimely and very tragic death, he told a close friend of his, a man named William O. Douglas, who also happened to be Associate Justice of the Supreme Court. I think that's William O. Douglas, not O. Douglas. I don't know. So James Forrestal said to William O. Douglas, quote, "Bill, something awful is about to happen to me," end quote. Turns out he was right, and something truly awful really did happen to him, and only a few months after he uttered those words to his buddy. Could it be that James Forrester's death was one of, if not the first ever, to have been a murder committed on someone high up in government in order to cover up what they knew? Could be. Officially, it said he jumped, but to many people, even those who have done extensive investigations into this case, they believe he could have also been pushed. There's a lot more to this particular case than I would have been able to fit here, but I will make sure to do an entire video on it because it is really mysterious and super sinister. For now, though, let's keep looking at other cases of possible cover-ups of mysterious deaths of people who knew too much. Our next case is a writer whose name was Danny Casolaro. Between the late 80s and the early 90s, Danny was very vocal about being on the trail of something or someone he referred to as the octopus. He said it was a worldwide organization with tentacles literally everywhere that manipulated events, made murders look like the person had done it to themselves, and he even said that this organization was setting us all up to be under the thumb of some sort of new world order in the coming decades and years, meaning right about now. Casolaro also claimed that this octopus organization also had some of its tentacles in the field of ufology. On August 1st, 1991, in a room at the Sheraton Inn in Martinsburg, West Virginia, the body of an unknown man was found unalive in the shower. By all appearances, the man had ended his own life. Deep gashes were found in both his wrists, and without anyone around to help him out, as he was allegedly traveling alone, he was just left there to bleed out. Now, if someone were unaliving themselves, I guess that would make sense. They wouldn't want to be anywhere where anyone could get to them and offer any sort of life-saving assistance, but that's just it, isn't it, guys? It wraps up just a little too neat for a man who had his whole life ahead of him and who truly thought he was onto something absolutely remarkable and groundbreaking. Hotel staff figured out who he was within just a few moments of finding him, as he was identified by the person working the front desk of the hotel. He was registered under his real name and was known to be an investigative journalist with a lot of grit who did not want to keep secrets. That's the key here, I think. He refused. Of course, Danny's friends and loved ones were absolutely devastated and shocked at the news of what had happened to him. Obviously, the victim of someone taking their own life isn't the only one who suffers, and often it's those who are left behind to pick up the pieces and who are left with so many questions are victims as well. I agree with that statement wholeheartedly and 100%, but let's take a closer look here. Was his death really done at his own hands? It's said that only conspiracy theorists look at this clear-cut case of self-unaliving and think it to be something else, but I'm really not sure about that at all. What brought most people into it, myself included, was the UFO angle to the whole thing. Danny said that he had indisputable proof of the existence of the secret group known as the Majestic 12. Side note, that's another video coming soon, guys. I'm already working on it. It's really fascinating. In case you don't know what that is, let me summarize it right here for you. The Majestic 12, also known as MJ12 for short, is only an alleged group still to this day, and many people write it off as conspiracy theorist jargon. For those who do believe in it, they're said to be a top secret committee of government agents, scientists, military leaders, and government officials that was formed under the executive order of President Truman in 1947 to facilitate recovery and investigations into alien spacecrafts. The concept started circulating among the masses when an alleged series of government documents was allegedly leaked and circulated by ufologists way back in 1948. Supposedly, it oversaw all of Area 51 and the wreckages and the alien bodies that were said to have been found on the night of that most infamous crash in the summer of 1947 in Roswell, New Mexico. Just so you guys know, too, the Majestic 12 has been a topic of discussion that has been integral to the field of ufology for decades now, and for so many people who investigate these types of things as well as for a great deal of professionals in the field. The Majestic 12 really is absolutely and 100% real. I don't want to spend too much time talking about this organization in this video, so let's get back to the death of our journalist friend. One thing I will say, though, before leaving this completely up in the air, is that just as many people believe meaning the Majestic 12, just some more smoke and mirror information put out into the general public by government officials themselves in order to further confuse the Roswell incident. Let me know where you stand on that in the comments, please, if you already have an opinion. So mainly people are saying like the Majestic 12 aren't real and that the government, not conspiracy theorists, is who put the information about them out there in order to further make people who talk about the Roswell incident as though it were some sort of alien craft or crash, look even more crazy. You know, oh yeah, aliens. Oh, and now a secret organization. Yeah, that's sounds legit. I'm not sure about that. I believe that they're absolutely real. I don't believe that it's government made up or conspiracy theorist made up. So Danny said that he had undeniable evidence and proof that the Majestic 12 did exist, and he wasn't planning on keeping it to himself or being quiet about it either. By early 1991, he could barely contain himself, and for good reason. He wanted to be and was excited and adamant about being the one to publicly reveal the existence of the octopus. However, his death in August of that same year ensured that at the very least, he wouldn't be the one to put that information out there. As it stands right now in October of 2023, where I'm filming this video and y'all will more than likely be watching it, we still don't have any evidence or definitive proof about the Majestic 12 one way or another. So if this was done to him and for those reasons, it was really effective. While his death certainly looked like he had done it himself, there were some very valid and solid reason as to why that may not have been the case. It's said by everyone who knew him that he was not experiencing any sort of overwhelming sadness or depression and was in fact excited about his findings and about his life in general. It's actually being said, and it's been said, that it was actually the exact opposite of anything like that, with people saying all of the new leads he was investigating were invigorating and re-energizing him, as well as his being in positive spirits about his quest to bring the entity that he called the octopus, its activities and motivations, and any and all new information about it to the public's attention directly. Personally, he was going to expose some very high up people in the government, and he wasn't going to back down. So let's talk about July of 1947 and what happened briefly in the desert in Roswell, New Mexico. Miriam Bush was someone who knew everything that happened and what really went down on that night and then the days and weeks afterwards. It's said, in fact, that she knew too much and that she more than likely paid for that information with her very life. So I just want to set the record straight here because I'm always seeing Miriam being described as a nurse who worked at the military hospital at the Roswell Army Airfield, but that was not the case, guys. She was not a nurse. She was actually an executive secretary at that same facility. I know it seems like a small distinction, and though I did bring it up in part to lend more respect to her memory, it is actually a very important detail that is so often overlooked. With the actual position she held there, she would have had access to and been in a position to view firsthand any and all parts and pieces of the wreckage as it was secretly brought onto the base right into where she worked on that night, including any possible mangled bodies, alien or otherwise, that went through there as well. Whereas a nurse probably would not have been privy to that information. It's no secret that immediately following the Roswell crash, Miriam was said to have become extremely paranoid and lived in constant fear for her life, given, of course, the many reiterations of threats and warnings to keep silent that were given to her and everyone else who was there that night or subsequently involved to any real degree for that matter. She was specifically told by very high-ranking military and government officials not to ever mention to anyone what she had been made privy to that night, but she somewhat couldn't help herself and ended up sharing the information she had with several members of her family. Of course, she in turn warned the people she had told that they should never tell anyone what she had told them, but you know how that goes, and someone, somewhere, and at some time, was bound to let something big slip. The Roswell incident ended up dominating Miriam's life, and she ended up really going off the rails because of it. She felt so paranoid and outside of herself, it said she entered into a loveless marriage, and by the end of it all, she had become a full-blown raging alcoholic. I mean, in my opinion, that is very understandable if you really think about it. So imagine that Roswell is real, because it is. It really did happen, and most of us in this community already know that, and knowing about it way back then, but not being able to discuss it for fear of losing your life. But then you can't keep it in anymore, and you discuss it anyways and tell your family and those in your life you love the most and that are closest to you, only to worry then about them dying because of what you told them. Imagine that. And it sounds like a lot, and for some, like Miriam, it sounds like it ended up being way too much. Miriam's life came to a shocking and very suspicious end in the 1980s. Sometime in December of 1989, without telling anyone where she was going or why, and with no one who knew her best knowing she had any plans to do so, she took off on a solo trip to San Jose, California, where she checked into a motel under her sister's name. It was very out of character for her, and her loved ones thought it was really bizarre behavior, just the motel in general, even before what came next. Like, she had never done this before. She didn't just go randomly stay in motels alone. It seems to me like Miriam really was concerned that she was being watched, and was more than likely concerned for her family and that they were in danger. And maybe she was just trying to put some distance between herself and the people she told about Roswell. After all, if she had nothing to hide and was merely just trying to get away from the stresses and pressures of her daily life, why wouldn't she just use her own identification or her own name? The day after she checked in, the motel staff went into her room and found Miriam unalive with a plastic bag tied tightly around her neck, with the bag portion over her face, obstructing her ability to breathe normally. She suffocated to death, or she was suffocated to death, one or the other. There were very visible and clear marks on her arms that the staff member who checked her in said they did not notice, and that they definitely would have noticed when she checked in. The authorities said the marks were definitive indicators that a struggle and a scuffle had occurred sometime after she had checked in, and more than likely while the bag was being placed around her face and tied around her neck. Despite ample evidence that she had been murdered, the official cause of death listed on Miriam's death certificate is she took her own life. One of the most controversial books out of the magnitude of them that were written in the 1950s about ufology and extraterrestrials was written in 1955 by a very well-known and highly regarded astronomer, archaeologist, and UFO researcher named Morris K. Jessup. Yes, a lot of y'all have heard that name. Morris was known for his unorthodox theories and was one of the first people to publicly talk about an ancient astronaut theory and alternative history. He wrote quite a few books about those things and more, but there was one book that may have led to the loss of his life. The name of the book was The Case for the UFO, and it was a detailed study of the presumption of theoretical power sources for unidentified flying objects. So it was about what possibly made them fly. It talks about the aerial feats and hovering at incredible heights, as well as how witnesses claimed they simply came to complete stops in the sky without making any noise at all, and all sorts of things like that. Mr. Jessup believed the answers to the questions he was posing in the book had something to do with what we call here on Earth gravity. Actually, what Morris Jessup called it was anti-gravity. Guys, he had to have been onto something, because it didn't take long after publishing that book before all sorts of government officials were on his back, haunting and hounding him about his work. The people who were really on his back, though, more so than anyone else, were officials from the United States Navy. It wasn't just the Navy in general, but its special weapons offices. It was obvious that someone in the Navy and someone very high up was either interested in or concerned with Mr. Jessup's theories and conclusion. Perhaps it was a little bit of both. Could it be that someone high up was concerned that perhaps he had or would stumble onto the same tech that was being tested out by our own United States government? Some say it was actually that UFOs were our own, and that the military was more than happy for us, the citizens of this country, to perceive those crafts as alien ships from somewhere else, so that they could go ahead with, and so that it would be easier for them to fabricate and orchestrate some sort of alien invasion, which would of course have been a complete fabrication. So what this theory was basically saying is using the Navy as, who it was, because the Navy and the special weapons offices of the Navy seemed to be who were on his case, on his back, and hounding him the most. Actually, allow us, the general populace, to believe that unidentified flying objects belong to aliens, extraterrestrials, and creatures, beings from other worlds, planets, realms, dimensions, galaxies, etc., when in all actuality, it's actually our ships, like our Navy's ships, our military ships, and that they're perfectly fine with allowing us to think and believe this, because someday they're going to orchestrate some kind of hostile takeover or something like that for either enslavement or I don't know. I really didn't follow down this rabbit hole because I was trying to stay focused on Jessup. But guys, that is ridiculously interesting. And I actually do want to look more into it. If you guys have any more information on that theory, that UFOs are actually our own military government aircrafts, let me know. Email me or leave something in the comments if you would. I'd really appreciate it. So another thing I just want to mention here real quickly about Mr. Jessup is that he was well known as well for his work on the highly classified, at least at that point, Philadelphia experiment, which, as many of us are aware, purportedly was an experiment done by the government and the United States Naval Intelligence to try and make a whole naval ship invisible. Just like Miriam Bush, Morris Jessup became incredibly worried, also to the point of paranoia that he was being spied on by certain elements within the United States government. With all of this going on, it seems as though 1958 was a very hard year for Morris. His wife had recently left him. His most recent book, the one I just mentioned, that was causing all of the other troubles, actually wasn't selling well, and he had been involved in a major car accident as well. The accident left him seriously injured. In the early evening of April 20th, 1959, Morris Jessup's lifeless body was found in his car, parked in the Matheson Hammock Park in Miami, Florida. There was a hose pipe fixed to the exhaust, which ran through the driver's side window, and the engine was still running. So he was unalive by effects of carbon monoxide poisoning, and a man named John Good was the one who found him, and John worked at the park. He called the police, and they arrived very quickly. The official cause of death for Morris K. Jessup was that he had taken his own life, but of course, not everyone in the field of ufology agreed with that at the time, but there was nothing anyone could do about it, especially not at that point in time in our country. With that being said, there were a few investigators that worked on the case of his death that said to them it seemed, quote, just a bit too professionally done, end quote. In the days leading up to his death, Jessup had been harassed almost nonstop with strange phone calls to his home, and possibly they were going through to other places as well, like his office, and really anywhere that he would show up, these phone calls would start happening. He also had just met with a mysterious man known as Carlos Allende, who was the man who had written the letter that was absolutely instrumental to bringing the Philadelphia experiment to the knowledge of the general public. An extremely strange detail in this case, or another one, and the one that I think is the most strange, is that no autopsy was ever done on Morris's body. Now, not only is that strange and suspicious, it's also illegal in the state of Florida for there to be a death without any autopsy performed, regardless of anything. There must be one done, and that was the case in the 50s as well. Let's move into a few honorable mentions here, starting with a string of deaths in the 80s that are extremely suspicious, due mainly to the fact that they were all the result of oddly fast-acting and fast-moving cancers. So we've discussed Ivan T. Sanderson here on this channel more than a few times throughout multiple videos. Ivan was a cryptozoologist and UFO aficionado who was taken out in such a way. Next is Dr. Alan J. Hynek, who was once a major consultant and investigator for Project Blue Book. He's a very famous fixture in the history of ufology as well. In 1986, Hynek was admitted to the hospital for prostate surgery, but he would never leave because it turned out he unknowingly had a very vicious brain tumor that instead ended his life. According to his family and those who knew him best, in the days leading up to his surgery, he was very upset and seemed somewhat frightened of and about some new research he had collected regarding UFOs. 2 years later, in 1988, a notable female investigative radio host named Mae Brussel died as well of fast-acting cancer in California, and it seemed to have come on and out of nowhere. She was known as a conspiracy theorist and hosted a radio show where she took no prisoners regarding the subjects of all types of things, including ufology, government cover-ups, secret programs, and the like. The name of her show was Dialogue Conspiracy. It was later renamed to The World Watchers International. The strange and suspicious deaths continued right into the 90s, and one of those was the death of astronaut Deke Slayton. Slayton was scheduled to come forward with inside knowledge and personal experiences with UFOs publicly. And that wasn't really something that was done quite often back then without the internet and all. But he never got the chance to say anything about any of it because he conveniently also died of a very aggressive cancer just before he was slated to do so as well. In 1994, an investigator for MUFON, a woman named Ann Livingston, died of an extremely aggressive form of ovarian cancer, too. It's interesting and somewhat spooky to note here that she died exactly 2 years after she claimed publicly to have been harassed by men in black who were ghoulish, pale, and faceless. Also in 1994, there was another death of a MUFON investigator, and his name was Ron Johnson. Ron was the deputy director of investigations for the agency, and he would die under rather bizarre circumstances just after attending a slideshow presentation in Austin, Texas. So once the lights were turned back on, as with slideshows, there needs to be darkness, and the lights cause interference with viewers being able to clearly see the screen, he was found slumped over in his seat. Blood was coming out of his nose, pouring out, and his face had taken on a weird, odd, purplish blue color. In 1996, there was Carla Turner and her strange death. She was an author on ufology, and she died of aggressive breast cancer. She had written at least 3 books, as far as I could find, about controversial topics regarding UFOs, extraterrestrials, and ufology in general. In 1999, Jim Keith, an author of several books on ufology and connected conspiracies, was having surgery on his leg. He had broken his leg, and the surgery was normal and very routine. However, a blood clot during the surgery stopped his heart, and he died too. Moving on into the millennium, there was the case of Ron Bonds, who was a prolific author of unexplained phenomenon and who died in April of 2001 of an extremely rare type of food poisoning bacteria that almost never leads to death. For some reason, though, it turned deadly for Ron. Prominent UFO researcher Paul Vijay died in 2009. It was February, and 44-year-old Paul's body was found bobbing around in the sea near Portsmouth, Hants, and he had left a series of strange and cryptic passwords behind on his phone that no one has ever been able to figure out to this day. Authorities, of course, officially deemed his death as having come at his own hands, or that it may have been an accident, but his friends and loved ones were absolutely adamant that Paul would never have done such a thing, and he hadn't ever mentioned it or suffered from any form of mental illness or anything like that. The coroner, who was unable to determine cause and manner of death in Paul's case and whether or not it was his doing, stated, quote, "I cannot say beyond reasonable doubt that yes, Paul has taken his own life. The only person who could tell us what was going on in his mind and what happened that night is sadly not here to tell us," end quote. So one of the weirdest cases of all, at least in my humble opinion, is the last case we're going to go over and discuss here today. It involves Max Spears, who was a UFO expert and conspiracy theorist. He was well known for diving into government cover-ups, and in July of 2016, he was visiting a friend in Warsaw, Poland. He was also there because he had planned on attending a conference on UFOs and conspiracy theories that was being held in the area at that time. On July 16th, Max's friend found him on the sofa in his living room. He was unresponsive and had puked up some sort of, quote, viscous black liquid, end quote. There were more than a few suspicious details surrounding his death, with the first being a text message he sent to his mother right before he died. It said, quote, "Your boy's in trouble. If anything happens to me, investigate," end quote. Once again, there was never an official autopsy performed on the body, and Max was by all accounts a healthy young man with no previous or underlying health issues at all. In my opinion, that makes the fact he allegedly just died out of nowhere and for seemingly no reason there on his friend's sofa that day very, very odd and strange indeed, and also highly unlikely. In fact, almost nothing was mentioned about the investigation into his death until 3 years later in 2019. At that time, investigators said his death had been caused by, quote, drug use and pneumonia, end quote. Max's mother said of what happened to her son in the following investigation, quote, Max was a very fit man who was in good health, and yet he apparently just died suddenly on a sofa. All I have is a death certificate from the Polish authorities that it was from natural causes, but no post-mortem was done, so how can they tell that? They're also refusing to release any paperwork about it to me because, absurdly, I don't have his written permission. Apparently, he had not suffered any obvious physical injuries, but he could have been slowly poisoned, which is why the results of toxicology tests from his post-mortem are so important, end quote. So once again, and completely as usual, those of us in this community and who work in some of these fields, as well as the general public and family members of the deceased, are all left to wonder what really happened to all of these people and so many more I didn't even mention who were making great strides in uncovering and possibly exposing secrets about UFOs, ufology, and all sorts of things about the government, etc., to wonder what really happened and whether or not it's possible that all of these people either took their own lives, died of sudden and randomly rare cancers, some other mundane things, or if they were completely removed from the whole equation by some sort of nefarious underbelly that didn't want them talking or finding out any more about whatever it was they were looking into in the first place. Yes, skeptics, we know people die, but honestly, there isn't a single case here that I covered that makes any sense at all. How is it that we can plainly see these cases are shady, but the so-called authorities investigating them don't see that and are so very quick to make light of it, act like it's no big deal, and even blame the deceased by accusing them of having taken their own lives? It really does make me wonder what in the world is going on and if any of us are actually safe. That's all I have for you today, guys. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed the content, if you enjoyed hanging out with me, if you enjoyed hanging out with each other in the premiere. Spread the love by sharing this video. Subscribe if you haven't already, please. I am almost at 3,000 and I am so super duper excited about that. I'm doing a huge spiritual power box giveaway once I hit 3,000, but you have to be subscribed in order to win it, and there'll be more information on that as the time progresses and the time comes. So the schedule is still a little bit messed up, but I have found a lot more time in my day starting today, and I'm really excited about that. So I should be able to get some more live streams in there. For right now, it's Wednesday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Ghostdragonzw, just hanging out, chillaxing and chatting and doing that nighttime vibe type thing. Just giving y'all something to do on a Wednesday. Every other Thursday, you should find Miss Lara, Miss Paranormal Pixie, at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and she'll go for as long as she wants. Those are conversations with Lara. Every other Friday and every other Saturday, it'll either be Ghostdragonzw with replays at midnight Eastern Time, so he'll be replaying my old videos, or Live Intuitive Oracle starting at 7:15 p.m. Eastern. So one will be on Friday and Saturday, alternating weeks. The week you are watching this, Live Intuitive Oracle will be on a Friday. I took off last week, but I don't think I'm going to have to do that again because, like I said, I found this really amazing system. I'll talk to y'all about it in stream. Check out the description box for some important links. Ways to donate to the channel. Donations are so incredibly important. They keep my equipment working. They keep me better able to make better videos as time goes on. They pay me for my time and for my work. They help me research, and, you know, the information's in the description box if y'all are able to provide or give donations. PayPal, Cash App, Amazon wish list gift link if you just want to send me a gift. There is all sorts of stuff on that wish list gift link. Also, links to Amazon for the Kindle and paperback for all three of my books: Missing the Fae Theory, Encounters with Evil, 101 True and Terrifying Stories,
so go check them
and
out.
Shadow Entities, Sleep Paralysis, and Beyond. I am almost done with Danger at Your
I'm
Doorstep,
going to go ahead and cut this.
Black-Eyed Kid and
Let me dump the. There we go. Yeah, she 1 second. She needed. We don't think she, ever since that guy came in and messed with her, I don't think she was ever comfortable again. And we were kind of hoping she'd kind of go off on her own and grow, but you know, she's going through a lot. So, and then her, no, not get. Then she had some things happen, and her fibromyalgia has been really bugging her. So we just let her slow it down and do her thing. But I do miss her. Maybe she'll come back. Right now, just let her take care of herself and do her thing. She hasn't even been really hanging out and chat too much when she comes in on Fridays, but that's all right. What a troll and a rep. Yeah, this guy really messed with her too. He was really freaky. That was a really freaky. I mean, he was dumping money on her, then just turned on her. It was just messed up. But I want to be searching crop circles the next few days, I guess, and see if anything has popped up. You know, Latra says nothing's been reported, but sometimes you don't always get the reports here. Yeah, he did get to her. And it would have freaked me out too if I was in her shoes. So yeah, I get it. Sorry, I'm kind of wheezing. Um, yeah, I get it. And we just let it be. You know, she's her own person. She needs to take care of herself first. And I got to hacking, man. It did something. I'm coughing up. I'm starting to cough up all that nicotine and stuff that I've quit. He says, you're going to do that for a couple months. So get used to it till it comes all out of your system. So bear with me, folks. I know you were, Edna, and I was trying to be, I wasn't sure what was going on. I was a little confused at first, but when I realized it was going sour, I was trying to hint to him, man, you either go, stop. But it got weird, and we all finally had to turn on him. That was messed up. What is the difference between golfer and a skydiver? A diver? I don't know. What's the difference? I don't know that one. Make it good, and I'll tell it to my son since he golfs. Yeah, that was a messed up night. But yeah, I'm making lists now as I remember stories. So I know now I'm not just trying to do it on the whim. That way I come in spooky time and have stories. Sometimes you guys just take over and things just go to down. So, and that's what I like. Like I said, it does get hard doing this by myself at times. But I'm getting used to it. I still have days I wish I had somebody, but yeah, it's good. A golfer says, whack, dang. Skyver says, whack. Ah. Another dad joke. Love it. You're killing me, man. You're killing me. Hope I can say that without getting her in trouble. Yeah, I'll probably take it to midnight since we're kind of casual. We're down to 4 people. I lost my that's pretty funny. But yeah, we had a couple. I went a couple times to write Pat with friends, and one during a one story I'll tell during an air show that freaked my friend out. I mean, he talked about it for days, and then a couple when we were doing tours, and one of the buildings. I kept seeing stuff, and then years later, Ghost Hunters, no Ghostbusters, was it Ghostbusters? Ghost Hunters? Yeah, Ghost Hunters went on the base, and it was the building I was seeing stuff in. So yeah, it was kind of cool. We had a friend that worked there. His family worked on the base. Dad was Air Force, I think, if I remember that right, and he'd get us around. So those should be good stories. I'll remember to write those down. I've been writing stuff down, so as I remember. Sometimes, like I said, so much in the head sometimes, and I'm not like I used to be. I just can't spew it all out. So now I have to start writing stuff down to make sure I can, so I don't come in blank on these story times because I really should be telling stories. That's what spooky time's all about. But I get involved with you guys too, so I kind of sometimes go with the flow. But anybody got any big plans for their Sundays? Ghost shows got boring. Always ask yourself, how hard would it be to fake that? Yeah. Yeah, because it's easy to fake stuff now. AI, CGI is so impressive now. But that's what you're getting. Am I that boring, Latro? I probably, I'm down to 4 people, but that's all right. I mean, we were having a pretty good conversations about crop circles. I mean, you bringing that Edna just like sprang something in my head. It was like, she's right. Nobody talks about that stuff anymore. Why? Is it just disappeared, gone, vanished from the transcripts, as one might say? Hold on. Sorry about that, folks. My nose is dripping. I got to take allergy pills before I go to bed tonight. I think that's what's kicking in. The storms, it's been too quiet. I got my window cracked, so my window kind of open so I can see out. Yeah, I'm very interested too, because a lot of times we were hearing a lot of them here, but more in England and the Isles, Great Britain and the Isles, a little bit over in some of the European countries, but then it just stopped. And then we had some here, and then it kind of picked up again, and then it just totally disappeared. What? Maybe in the 90s, early 2000s? I think the last time I saw a documentary about crop circles was probably the very early 2000s. You'd figure you don't even see replays of these shows of crop circles. So, what's going on? So, yeah, I'm going to do a little digging on that. It may not be this Wednesday, but I will try to find an answer for us. Find out what's going on. Like I said, I'll dig around a little bit on the deep web. A lot of times, it's like I said, it's a shame. YouTube, you really got to dig around on YouTube, because a lot of good paranormal stuff that's you can tell is legit comes out of South America, especially UFO stuff. South America, Mexico. Seen some really wild stuff coming out of Africa and South Africa. And this stuff looks legit. I've done it. There's a couple of videos I had to go over and watch again, kind of try to analyze. They're legit. But you have to dig around on YouTube or go to those countries' YouTube channels and find them. I mean, you don't trust YouTube's closed caption. It isn't very good. So you have to find somebody that shows them again in English. Now, there's this one lady I love because she finds a lot of this foreign stuff. And this is Darkest Secret. Her name's Eleanor. A lot of the stuff she shows is like out of Mexico, South America. That stuff, and she shows everything. And she even shows the fake ones compared to real ones, which is what I like about her. They showed the whole world UFOs, and the world said, meh. Yeah. Basically, that's because we have so much science fiction going on television. It's so talked about that everybody's now used to it. They expected a bit. No, they didn't. They got the reaction they wanted. They didn't want us to, freak out. They want us to be, oh, okay. So when it happens, it's going to be, and then the aliens take over. Because that's probably what's going to happen. Everybody's, oh, these are good aliens, blah, blah, blah. My view is just like us and the Indians and everything else, we have a habit of taking over each other's land and countries and worlds. But they're probably the same way. Just because they're more advanced doesn't mean they don't think like us. So even the nice aliens, I kind of go, are they really nice or are they just playing you? Not to freak out, want more info. Yeah. Well, I think there's people out there that still want them more. It's like these hearings they do, they do them, and then it's like nobody really makes it. You hear a big deal about it. A lot of these hearings, a lot of people are just walk away disappointed. It's like, we already know all of this. What do you give us the same information we've had before? You're not telling us anything we didn't already know one way or other. We would be like ants to them if they wanted us. Oh, yeah, they could take us anytime they wanted to. If they are as advanced as we think they are. Just because advanced technology race doesn't really make them smarter than us. Just remember that. There are geniuses out there who are very eccentric. They're not very sociable. When it comes to everyday things, they're not that smart. But when it comes to being a genius, yeah. So, you could be an advanced race, but you may not still understand a lot of things. Oh, the arrogance of man. Yes. And I'm not saying we're any smarter than anybody because I care. Yeah, we are a very arrogant race. If the aliens look remotely like us, only one source. Heck, on TV, they even speak English. Yeah. Well, they have to speak English. That's the only way they can be on TV. One of my favorite shows was V. I watched that with the original series religiously. I watched every one of those. And then they did the miniseries. It was okay. Try to revive it. That's when you're talking about your reptilians. And they did a pretty good job with that. To me, that was like disclosure in a lot of ways. It's like I could believe these things really happening. And I was just a kid. Don't you love the light inside an astronaut's helmet? Yeah, what is the purpose of that? Yeah, I don't think we suck that bad, but I pretty much agree with you. Like I said, we're all connected, but you also can't have good without bad. Well, you can, but that's a whole nother story. But yeah, right now, you got to have the opposite to make a whole. Hopefully, someday we don't need that opposite to make a whole and we can all be good. I think we suck pretty bad. Yeah, we have our moments. I like to have a little faith, Edna, because I've met good, wholesome people. I've been in situations where I wasn't sure how people would react and they surprised me. So, yeah, I have faith. Yeah, we're not the greatest race out there, human beings, but there are people out there trying to make it better. I don't want to poop on us too bad. You know what I'm saying? We got to have a little faith because when you start thinking like that, things do tend to go sour. And right now, with me, it's like I said, this is why I'm wearing your necklace. I saw I had buttoned up. I got chilly. I kept having the chills. Um, I've started wearing my necklace again. Got them blessed again because after I went to my tests the last time, and I didn't stay for the test. The test before that, it was crazy. Test after that, and ever since then, going anywhere has been a nightmare. I went out today, and I came right home. I did. I wasn't out long enough to do what I needed to do, and got home. I kept my head down, tried to keep my blinders up. Sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I even hear things like something yelling to get my attention. So it's getting tense again, and I'm wondering if something's about ready to happen. But then again, we had a red moon, a blood moon. Certain times, when certain things like that happen, things I seems things tense up a little bit. But it was really weird. I went to the last doctor test. And I didn't take the test because I was having issues, and they didn't think it would probably be a good idea for me to do test. So we rescheduled. But the whole time I was there, it was just a nightmare. And ever since then, ever since being in and out of the hospital and everything, it's been nuts. It's like I can't even walk into a gas station. I won't even go in and pay now. I just pay at the pump, get it done, and get out. Yeah, new tinfoil hat. I think I need to make mine bigger. You know, they do sell hats with the tinfoil inside them. They still are. If you go online, you could probably find them. There are people still sell them. I think I got the biggest kick out after seeing a commercial like that. There was actually a commercial, and I'm still looking for it so I can show you guys because it was pretty old. And I'm sure I'm not the only one, Edna. You know, it was nice. Gemma went to her birthday party tonight, and it's good to see her out. But she's with family. She's not with a bunch of strangers and out in public. But I'm sure it gets on her. But she's really good. She's able to block it, and I'm not, no matter how much I try. So it's literally, I try to keep my head down and my blinders on. And sometimes that don't really hurt because, like I said, sometimes if I do that, sometimes I actually hear stuff, and people don't understand that. It's not always seeing. Sometimes I hear it, and I don't talk a whole lot about that because some of the things I hear would make me sound crazy. I try. I do try. Um, there's just some things I don't even think I could work on that follow these people. There's some people out there with some pretty serious attachments. Some serious attachments. So yeah. Now I'm at the point now, like I said, I'm even afraid I'm bringing something home. So it's been like every 3 weeks, I replenish the salt, bless the land. I don't have Thomas anymore, but he showed me how to do it. So the blessings and stuff. I knew how to do it a little bit, but he really showed me how to do it good. So, oh, she must be home. She just texted me good night. Hold on, let me say good night to her. She must see me streaming. Oh, wait till she finishes. She's still texting. But I do try to blast them with my light. But it's rough sometimes. I don't talk to Gemma a whole lot about it because she goes through enough as it is. But it gets crazy. And these people, I think Dad understands now a little. Giles, Ashley understands because I think sometimes she sees stuff. And I know her oldest daughter does. I don't know if she still does, but I knew she did when she was a child. She probably didn't realize I was still streaming. I hope she had a good time tonight. So remember, I'm going to get ready to call it a night, and we will talk spooky time Wednesday night at 9. I'm trying to get myself well enough so I can go back to maybe doing spooky time at 10 to midnight, and then going back to doing Gemma's replays at midnight because I kind of missed the midnight, but it's been kind of nice. It's given me time to kind of heal and get back to normal again. I was kind of requested to do that for a while, so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to actually listen to doctors for a change. So let me do this because I want to show her video for Monday. Let me get it up here before we close out for the night. Where's that at? I just had it too. I had it up when I came in. Okay, right there. It's up. Nope, get rid of that. We do this. Do this. This. This is her video for Monday, or upload for Monday. I call it upload. Let me get her push around. Cynthia Anderson, also known as Cindy, she had prophetic dreams, and then she just, and some really weird nightmares, and she was talking about, and then she disappeared. So it should be a good one. It's an interesting case. I know a little bit about it, so I'm interested to see what she says. So yeah. Thanks. Off to soak in the bath. Man, that actually sounds like a good idea. Folks, have a wonderful night. Thanks for hanging with me. I appreciate it. And make sure you check it out on Monday. I'll be there about 11 o'clock. I always try to show up if I'm a little late because I was working, but I'll try to be there. I should be there. I will be there. And if I don't see you Monday, I'll see you Wednesday night and Friday next week for Oracles. You guys have a wonderful one. Be safe. Have a wonderful Sunday. And I will see you all on the flip side. I love you guys. You guys are so great, even the people ghosting. So have a good night. Be well. Have a wonderful Sunday and a good start to your week.